CNN Philippines in the news. President Rodrigo Duterte keeps his hands off his flagship campaign, the war on drugs. That's after turning over the fight to a new agency. Tropical storm Odette maintains its strength and it's taking its time before heading to China. Rains are expected over Metro Manila and nearby provinces. And the Gin Kings take Game 1 in the PBA Governors Cup Finals. Good afternoon, I'm Maya Rodriguez. Thanks for joining us. An all-out war on drugs, a campaign promise of President Duterte, who once said he would step down if he fails to end it. Now he's changing his strategy against illegal drugs. He removes the National Police at the helm and gives the job to the Drug Enforcement Agency. But is the PDEA ready for this tall order? Our Camila Badisho finds out.
The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency is stepping up its operations after taking over the lead in the war on drugs. The agency admits the task is not easy, especially with lack of manpower.
It will leave a big vacuum, especially on street-level operations. So unlike before, when PDEA used to focus only on high-value targets and high-impact operations, this time we will have to fill in the gap where the PNP left off.
The PNP has about 195,000 personnel, in stark contrast to PDEA's almost 2,000 personnel nationwide.
Malaking-malaki talaga ang contribution ng PNP because they have the numbers. They have the presence all the way up to the municipalities. And definitely, yung presensya nila, nandun, natutugunan nila kagad yung street-level pushing.
PDEA is planning to recruit 1,000 to 1,500 agents every year to fill in the gap. But this means additional budget, as training will cost 200,000 pesos per agent or 300 million for 1,500 agents. PDEA's budget is at 1.4 billion pesos, plus 934.5 million pesos for additional facilities, equipment, and manpower for 2018. But with their new role, PDEA says they would need more funds.
Kulang na kulang talaga. Dahil nga po, this was based on the premise that PDEA will focus on high-value targets and conducting high-impact operations.
While transitioning to a much bigger task, they would seek assistance from the PNP.
Mas konti na nga po kami. If we deploy on the ground and then we are doing the actual anti-drug operation and then hostile forces start firing on us and we get pinned down, who will help us?
We're ready to provide support to the PDEA, whether it's coming from the national down to the municipal level. When they need our support, we are working for the same government. So we will not deny them any of the assistance that we can provide them.
With over 76,000 anti-drug operations, the police produced 90% of the results of the drug war from July 2016 to September 2017. But the relentless campaign has a price. Over 3,000 drug suspects dead in police operations, while PDEA agents killed only 28 suspects. Camila Badisho, CNN Philippines.
President Duterte also now says he's off the drug campaign. In an interview on PTV4, the president says he will entrust the problem entirely to the Drug Enforcement Agency. He also tells the police to just leave if they see an illegal drug activity. The president says this is his response to critics who blame the government for the killings. Here's the president in his own words.
Ako, I will not anymore interfere. Pagka ngayon talaga, hindi hugas kamay. Ayaw ko talaga, hindi ako naghugas. Ayaw ko na. Police, wag na kayong makialam. Military, wag na kayong makialam.
PNP Chief Ronald De La Rosa says he accepts President Duterte's decision to take the anti-drug campaign off their hands. Speaking to CNN Philippines, De La Rosa, however, says he can't help but feel sad over the decision. Still, he considers this development a positive step.
Policemen ko man o yung mga drug personalities, still buhay pa rin ng tao yun. So, kuhan ba, yung, anyway, I just look at it positively, yung executive order na yun. Sabi siguro ni Presidente, masyado ka ng pagod, anak, pahinga ka na. Ito, hindi natin magpaplastikan.
Sure.
Frustrated si Presidente sa naging reaksyon ng taong bayan. It goes to show na si Presidente hindi diktador. Na nakiramdam siya sa pulso ng taong bayan. Kung totoo man yung granting na talagang totoong sentimento ng general public yung lumabas sa survey, sabi ni Presidente din, I am working for the Filipino people. So,
You took that
ano
into
yung gusto ng taong bayan, dissatisfied sila sa war on drugs, hinto natin itong war on drugs.
The Supreme Court has spoken. Senator Laila de Lima stays in jail for her drug case, but 6 justices sided with her, with a senior justice saying the High Court should never accept a fake charge. Anjo Alimario has more.
A pure invention. This is how Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio describes the drug case against Senator Laila de Lima. In his dissenting opinion, Carpio argues essential elements of a drug sale or trade were missing in the charges of the Justice Department. He says the charges failed to identify the buyer, the seller, or the receiver of drugs. The Justice Department should have instead filed for direct bribery, a bailable offense, a case that falls under the Sandigan Bayan. Carpio says the High Court, the last bulwark of democracy and liberty, should never accept such a fake charge. Associate Justice Marvic Leonen says the majority's position isn't surprising, but it's deeply disturbing. Leonen backs Carpio's position that none of the allegations matches the crime of conspiracy to engage in drug trading. He points out it is reasonable to suspect that de Lima's case points to the use of the strong arm of the law to silence dissent. In his dissent, Associate Justice Alfred Benjamin Kagiwa agrees the majority's reasoning isn't only incomplete, worse, it tends to validate a dangerous situation where an ordinary citizen can be arrested by mere allegation. Kagiwa argues if this can be done to a senator, this can happen to any citizen. For Carpio, to let de Lima remain in jail is one of the grossest injustices ever perpetrated in recent history, in full view of the Filipino nation and the entire world. Anjo Alimario, CNN Philippines.
Intense gun battles continue as troops go for the final push to end the war and meet the military's October 15 deadline. The local government asks authorities to make sure no mounted fighter will be left in the city. George Cahiles has that story.
Kilometers away from the main battle area, continuous gunfire and bomb explosion filled the air Friday morning, indicating an intense firefight between government troops and ISIS-inspired mounted group. Authorities say the battle is confined within a 3-hectare area near the lake.
And as they are now confined to a smaller space, we anticipated more intense fighting. Kasi nga po, mas concentrated na yung mga maute in certain places so they can give us a strong resistance.
The military earlier said it is confident it will meet its October 15 deadline to end the war. But now, the armed forces clarifies they do not have any deadline, just a self-imposed target to finish the fight.
We don't want to call it a deadline. No? Hindi po natin siniset na deadline yon because it brings undue pressure on the troops. So, meron po tayong targets. No? Targets na pilit inaabot.
Once the war is over, a second wave of clearing operations will be carried out. Authorities will once again scour buildings, tunnels, and other underground structures. This is an example of a drainage system inside the main battle area. The military says these could be used as passageways for stragglers who may escape or create more terror after the war.
Our position is i-clear ang NBA not only of the ordinances but combatants, fighters from the Maote side, leaders and their foot soldiers.
The military says the ongoing war has taught them so many lessons, things that they need to improve on next time, especially in urban warfare, their shortfall in this ongoing siege. From Marawi City, George Cahiles, CNN Philippines.
Tropical storm Odette maintained its strength and remained almost stationary according to Pag-asa. This means Metro Manila, Central Luzon, Calabarzon, Mimaropa and Western Visayas will still experience moderate to occasionally heavy rains today. Signal number 1 is still up in Pangasinan. As of 11 a.m., the center of Odette was located at 315 kilometers west of Sinait, Ilocos Sur. It packs maximum sustained winds of 90 kilometers per hour. Odette is expected to exit the Philippine area of responsibility today. Agamulak was a sought-after leading man of his generation. On his return to the big screen, the actor shares with CNN Philippines a look back at his stellar career and some future plans. Our Tristan Nodalo has that story.
Lahat kaya kong kalimutan para sa'yo.
He is dubbed as the country's original heartthrob and the ultimate leading man of the 80s and the 90s. But for Agamulak, playing the role was never easy.
Wala akong gagawing pelikula na hindi ko gusto. Wala akong gagawing pelikula na hindi ko iniisip ang mga viewers. Para iniisip ko kasi how my viewers will react. Will they believe? Diba?
Aga started his career as child actor in 1975, working with veteran actors like Fernando Poe Jr. and Christopher De Leon. He rose to stardom when he became one of the leads in Viva Films' teenage film, Bagets.
Sa atin, mas gusto kong gumawa ng simple na pelikula na tama ang paggawa at totoo ang panglasa.
From Lea Salonga, Sharon Cuneta, Claudine Barreto to any other popular actress in the 90s, Aga's name was on the list of their ideal leading men. Now Aga reveals there's no secret in becoming one.
Kaya when they watch my films, parang they're part of the experience. They're part of my joy, so they feel that also. When I'm in love in the film, they feel that also. When I hurt in the film, or when I'm hurting in the film, they feel it also.
Aga reveals he's ready to work with previous leading ladies, especially with the clamor to reunite with Sana Maulit Muli love team, Lea Salonga.
Sana Maulit Muli, andyan na yan, ano? Classic na siya. So if we do a movie again, dapat yan masihigitan niya Sana Maulit Muli. Pag hindi niya nahigitan yan, wag na natin gawin. So it's as simple as that. If we find a project, then it's gonna happen.
He also wants to star in independent films, TV teleseries, and action films. A list of many firsts for a well-loved leading man.
There's more to come. So yeah, I'm back. I was never gone. Nagpahinga lang.
Tristan Nodalo, CNN Philippines.
When the newsroom returns, President Duterte's trust ratings remain high, this time according to Pulse Asia. And Asia songbird Regine Velasquez delights fans with teasers from her special album. Back after a quick break. Keep it here on CNN Philippines. Good afternoon to our viewers on Facebook Live. Thank you for joining us again this afternoon. Still a big story today, yung the drug campaign, the war on drugs, now under the helm of the PDEA, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency. So early this week, tinapos na nga ng PNP yung kanilang Oplan Tokhang at Oplan Double Barrel. So controversial yon kasi from there, nagkaroon ng mga allegations ng summary killings, no, extrajudicial killings. At sinasabing yung mga tina-target na to, yun lang yung mga, only the poor are being targeted by this drug war. So ngayon si President Duterte binigay na nga sa PDEA yung anti-drug campaign. So marami nagre-react pa rin dito sa story na to, and especially since the PDEA is currently undermanned for this job. So sabi nga nila, kailangan nilang mag-recruit ng 1,000 to 1,500 agents per year para matugunan nila yung mga requirements dito sa pag-lead nitong anti-drug campaign. Also, coming up, more stories on President Duterte, especially doon sa mga controversial remarks niya tukol doon sa mga EU ambassadors na pinapaalis na nga niya, no? Sinabi niya nung Thursday, umalis kayo in 24 hours. So maraming reactions tukol dito, and especially may clarification ang Malacanang dito sa statement ni President Duterte. Also, the President's ratings, according to Pulse Asia and the SWS, magkaiba ang rating sila, yung results ng survey nitong dalawang poll firms na to. So tingnan natin dun sa analysis sa susunod na pagbabalik after this short break. Ngayon, pwede ko nang batiin yung mga viewers natin, no, ngayon nanunood sa Facebook Live. Si Richard Lactawen, watching from Hawaii. Si Mary Vicera Torres, watching from Italy. Beng Kalunsad from Kuwait. Gina Cardines, watching from Malaysia. Mario Bonza says, good day to you, Miss Mai. Good day din sa iyo. Watching from Japan. I hope you're having a great day there. Do keep sending us your comments and your reactions to the stories today. And do check out our social media accounts. Yun ang sa Facebook at sa Twitter para pwede kayong mag-comment. Stay tuned. You're in the newsroom on CNN Philippines. Welcome back. President Duterte has issued strong words against the European Union, but now palace officials make it clear there's no order to let the EU delegation leave the country. Our senior correspondent, Ina Andolong, tells us more.
He cursed at the European Union.
My God, do it, stupid. Do it now. Paano sabihin sa Espanyol? You go.
And told its ambassadors to leave.
You leave my country in 24 hours. All of you.
But he was barking at the wrong tree. A day after the president's tirades against the EU, his spokesman clarifies his boss was addressing himself to the international delegates of the Progressive Alliance, not the EU, which the president thought was threatening to have the Philippines expelled from the United Nations because of the killings in its drug war. The 7-member delegation, which Malacanang says falsely claimed to represent the EU, called for an end to the killings and said the Philippines may risk losing the tax-free status of many of its products entering Europe. Ernesto Abella also blamed the media for causing the confusion. Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez says he too saw something wrong with the reports that came out.
Basically, he was reacting to what he was reading. He was reacting to what he was reading. So it's not a question of being misinformed. That means to say he was being fed wrong information. But based on
kung ano yung nasa news. Frankly, kami rin Ako, when I saw that, ba't ito na naman to? Sino to? Kasi when we talk to the guys in the EU, hindi naman ganyan yung dating nila, yung approach nila Parang tingin ko nga, somebody asked them to come over at manggalit
For now, Malacanang is just taking back the president's directive, telling EU diplomats to leave.
There's no directive to do that.
As far as palace officials are concerned, all is well between the Philippines and the EU. The Trade Secretary met with EU officials last September to address any perception that may have been caused by negative publicity.
Kasi ano ba yung nare-release sa international media? Siyempre, kung may balitang nanggaling dito, lalo na at that time, naalala ko, at the height of yung mga teenagers na mga namatay. So we were telling them na may mga ganong incidents na unfortunately nangyari, but our president, number one, we assured them na ang presidente natin ayaw talaga ng mga abuso na ganon.
The president has been made aware of the mistake, but no apology, at least for now. But Abella says a clarification from the president himself may be forthcoming. Ina Andolong, CNN Philippines.
The so-called Progressive Alliance says it's a group composed of more than 100 social democratic political parties and organizations all over the world. In a statement, it says it is alarmed at the mounting cases of drug killings. The alliance adds the delegation witnessed a war between social classes and political opposition and not a war against illegal drugs. The group intends to keep a close eye on developments in the country and will, quote, take appropriate initiatives if necessary. A new Pulse Asia survey shows President Duterte still enjoys high approval and trust ratings. As the administration faces a number of issues, data show 80% of Filipinos approve of the Duterte presidency. Only 7% say otherwise, while 13% are undecided. The president also managed to keep his majority trust rating also at 80%. Pulse Asia says the numbers remained virtually constant since June. This latest survey was conducted from September 24 to 30 among 1,200 respondents nationwide. Another showbiz couple are ready to tie the knot. Rojun Cruz and Diane Medina are now engaged. Cruz posted a video on Instagram showing him proposing to Medina with the view of Boracay. This coincides with his 30th birthday celebration. Diane also posted on her IG stories her engagement ring with a caption, "In God's perfect time." These showbiz sweethearts have been together for more than 10 years now. Now, still ahead, Filipino horror film Spirit of the Glass gets a sequel 13 years later. We give you a preview. And Xander Ford speaks up about bullying and how it has helped him. This is Newsroom Weekend on CNN Philippines. Stay tuned. Good afternoon to our viewers again on Facebook. Thank you for joining us. So, sana you keep watching until the end of the show kasi meron tayong special feature on Xander Ford. As you know, he's now a, what do you call that? He's now famous on social media. And you can call him a celebrity already after his transformation from his plastic surgery. So he visited the CNN Philippines studio early this week at in-interview siya dito. So pakinggan natin kung ano sasabihin niya dun sa mga bashers niya, especially since dumami rin daw ang bashers niya even after going under the knife. Pero may message din siya about bullying kasi uso naman talaga ang bullying sa social media, di ba? So abangan nyo yan, si Xander Ford. Also, we have the latest in sports. Sana ma-ere pa natin. We only have 8 minutes left on the show. So now, I'd like to continue reading your messages and your greetings. Si Crystalis Shine says, hi from Michigan. Perla Arsua, watching from Hong Kong. Hello to you. Alan Lopez, watching from Riyadh. And James Pads, watching from Abu Dhabi. Si Audie Garcia is watching us from Texas at marami pang iba na nakikita ko dito sa Facebook Live. Talagang galing sa iba't ibang bahagi ng mundo. Thank you talaga sa inyo for joining us this afternoon. Ito ang avid viewer, alam ko, si Alfred Galvez, thank you. Si Francisco Rodriguez from Houston, Texas. Ram Ramos from California. And hi also to Vaji Delfin. The newsroom's back with more stories. FW Life Philippines rolls out a new US dollar-denominated insurance protection plan. This allows customers to tap into a global portfolio of equity shares in corporations like Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, and Toyota. For a minimum investment of $20,000 or about 1 million pesos, this single-pay product gives customers the chance to take advantage of the long-term growth potential of international economies, at the same time assures them of lifetime insurance. In sports, Barangay Ginebra draws first blood in its finals rematch against the Meralco Bolts. Our Paulo Del Rosario tells us what happened in Game 1 of the best-of-7 Governor's Cup Finals.
Here they go on the break again. Oh!
It is a dream start for Barangay Ginebra after they took Game 1 of the best-of-7 final series against the Meralco Bolts 102-87 in Lucena City. Ginebra got off to a hot start in the first quarter, outscoring them 29-18 in the first 12 minutes. Meralco staged a furious fight back in the third frame, but failed to carry their momentum to the fourth quarter. In the payoff period, Ginebra held Meralco to only 16 points as they cruised to a Game 1 win. Ginebra's sides clearly won out in Game 1. The defending champions hauled in 59 rebounds against Meralco's 40 and held them to only 39% shooting. Imports Justin Brownlee and Alan Durham led their respective teams in scoring, with Brownlee scoring a game-high 32 points for Ginebra and Durham posting 27 points for Meralco. Ginebra's Japeth Aguilar led the locals with 15 points and 4 rebounds. It is now up to the Bolts to find the right adjustments to overcome Ginebra's size advantage and make the series competitive. Meralco can strike back in Game 2 on Sunday at the Big Dome. Paulo Del Rosario, CNN Philippines.
Now, what motivates Ginebra and Meralco to win the series? Our sports desk anchor Miko Halili has more.
Barangay Ginebra and the Meralco Bolts renew their rivalry in the PBA Governor's Cup Finals. The championship series between these teams took a year in the making. Barangay Ginebra wants to win back-to-back titles in the Governor's Cup at the expense of Meralco, but Meralco is determined to exact revenge this time around.
We're still going to be hungry. I think that's one of the big things. If you just come off a win and you haven't experienced any losses, then you have a tendency to relax. I don't think we'll relax this conference because we're hungry.
It's not about Joe versus Jared, you know, it's about Ginebra versus Morocco. We're both competitive. We're going to be competitive probably to the day we die, you know. So now that we're facing each other in the finals, what more, you know, for that competitiveness to come out.
No matter what you say, you still got to go out and play. So what's important is how you play, not what you say. And that's the way I always played the game. That's the way I coached the game. Let's go out and suit up, and let's go out and throw the ball up, and let's go.
There's so much going on, so much more than basketball, you know. I mean, our boss Al Panilio battling with cancer, and you know, my grandma, you know, she's shortly going to pass away soon, and just the whole essence of this whole, you know, round 2 rematch, same import. I mean, you can feel it.
Catch more of this week's top sports stories on Sports Desk Weekend. I'm Miko Halili. Back to you.
2004 Filipino horror film Spirit of the Glass is getting a sequel. Much like the first installment, award-winning director Jose Javier Reyes says the movie follows the story of a group of friends who opened the gates of the supernatural world after playing an inherited Ouija board. In a press conference, the cast shared their own experiences in dealing with the supernatural.
This is more of mixing souls with technology because iba yung quality ng haunting dito. Okay? It's new because we contemporize, okay, the use of new media and how that can also be yung cause ng mga pagmumulto. Okay? And it's very contemporary. Very, very contemporary yung kwento.
Pero now na matanda na ako, mature na ako, alam ko na yung tama or mali, syempre, I wouldn't dare na maglaro ulit. Kasi ayokong makipaglaro sa devil. Dahil alam naman natin na mahirap kalaban yun.
The haunted Spirit of the Glass 2 is top-billed by Christine Reyes, Danielle Matsunaga, Dominic Roque, and Janine Gutierrez. Also part of the cast are Miss Universe 2016 Maxine Medina and commercial model Enrico Cuenca. The movie opens November 1st. Internet star Xander Ford says his cosmetic surgery was a dream come true. In an interview with CNN Philippines, he says despite his transformation, the bullying he suffered as a child hasn't stopped. Xander points out his critics are now targeting his emotions instead of his looks. Xander has a message to his bashers.
Dahil sa inyo, mas ginalingan ko pa at mas lalo pa akong pumogi.
Yan. Paano pa pogi face mo? Sige nga.
Ayan, thank you din sa inyo dahil sa inyo, natupad ko na yung pangarap ko at lagi nyo lang ito tatandaan na ang taong binababa ay inaangat ng Panginoon.
With that, the 19-year-old shares he is writing a book about cyberbullying. A week before her much-anticipated 30th anniversary concert, Asia songbird Regine Velasquez releases clips from her upcoming trilogy albums R3.0. Regine teased the album renditions with versions of iconic hits like the Didith Reyes classic Bakit Ako Mahihiya, the Visayan love song Usahay, and the Whitney Houston and George Benson hit The Greatest Love of All. Another album, Reflections, also features 10 tracks that includes new versions of songs she has recorded before like Dadalhin and her 1987 hit Kung Maibabalik Ko Lang. Her son Nate also debuts in the recording industry with the track I Can. Her all-original album Rise is also teased with clips including that of Hugot that got a #1 spot on iTunes after its release. The commemorative albums will be available at her concert at the SM Mall of Asia Arena on October 22nd. That's what's happening.
You're in the newsroom on CNN Philippines. Tonight, manpower, that's what PDEA needs in its new task to lead the government's drug war. The Chief Justice claims she is just, quote, chill amid accusations hurled against her. And stars of the upcoming film Spirit of the Glass give CNN Philippines a sneak peek to the sequel. Good evening, I'm Mitzi Borromeo. The reason for President Rodrigo Duterte's recent outbursts against the European Union is speaking up. The so-called Progressive Alliance claims it's a group composed of more than 100 social democratic political parties and organizations all over the world. In a statement, Progressive Alliance says they're alarmed at the mounting cases of killings under President Duterte's war on drugs. The alliance adds they witnessed a war between social classes and political opposition and not a war against illegal drugs. They say they will keep a close eye on the developments in the country and will take appropriate initiatives if necessary. Palace officials are clearing the air a day after President Duterte issues strong words against the European Union. They say there's no directive for the EU delegation to exit the country. Our senior correspondent Ina Andolong tells us more.
He cursed at the European Union.
My God, do it, stupid. Do it now. Paano sabihin sa Espanyol? You go.
And told its ambassadors to leave.
You leave my country in 24 hours. All of you.
But he was barking at the wrong tree. A day after the president's tirades against the EU, his spokesman clarifies his boss was addressing himself to the international delegates of the Progressive Alliance, not the EU, which the president thought was threatening to have the Philippines expelled from the United Nations because of the killings in its drug war. The 7-member delegation, which Malacanang says falsely claimed to represent the EU, called for an end to the killings and said the Philippines may risk losing the tax-free status of many of its products entering Europe. Ernesto Abella also blamed the media for causing the confusion. Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez says he too saw something wrong with the reports that came out.
Basically, he was reacting to what he was reading. Okay. He was reacting to what he was reading. So it's not a question of being misinformed. That means to say he was being fed wrong information. But based on...
Kung ano yung nasa news. Frankly, kami rin Ako, when I saw that, ito na naman to? Sino to? Kasi when we talk to the guys in the EU, hindi naman ganyan yung dating nila, yung approach nila Parang tingin ko nga, somebody asked them to come over at manggalit
For now, Malacanang is just taking back the president's directive, telling EU diplomats to leave.
There is no directive to do that.
As far as palace officials are concerned, all is well between the Philippines and the EU. The Trade Secretary met with EU officials last September to address any perception that may have been caused by negative publicity.
Kasi ano ba yung nare-release sa international media? Siyempre, kung may balitang nanggaling dito, lalo na at that time, naalala ko, at the height of yung mga teenagers na mga namatay. So we were telling them na may mga ganong incidents na unfortunately nangyari, but our president, number one, we assured them na ang presidente natin ayaw talaga ng mga abuso na ganon.
The president has been made aware of the mistake, but no apology, at least for now. But Abella says a clarification from the president himself may be forthcoming. Ina Andolong, CNN Philippines.
President Rodrigo Duterte is changing his strategy against illegal drugs. He's removing the National Police at the helm and giving the task to the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency. But is PDEA ready for this tall order? Our Camille Abadisio finds out.
The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency is stepping up its operations after taking over the lead in the war on drugs. The agency admits the task is not easy, especially with lack of manpower.
It will leave a big vacuum, especially on street-level operations. So unlike before, when PDEA used to focus only on high-value targets and high-impact operations, this time we will have to fill in the gap where the PNP left off.
The PNP has about 195,000 personnel, in stark contrast to PDEA's almost 2,000 personnel nationwide.
Malaking-malaki talaga ang contribution ng PNP because they have the numbers. They have the presence all the way up to the municipalities. And definitely, yung presensya nila, nandun, natutugunan nila kaagad yung street-level pushing.
PDEA is planning to recruit 1,000 to 1,500 agents every year to fill in the gap. But this means additional budget, as training will cost 200,000 pesos per agent or 300 million for 1,500 agents. PDEA's budget is at 1.4 billion pesos, plus 934.5 million pesos for additional facilities, equipment, and manpower for 2018. But with their new role, PDEA says they would need more funds.
Kulang na kulang talaga. Dahil nga po, this was based on the premise that PDEA will focus on high-value targets and conducting high-impact operations.
While transitioning to a much bigger task, they would seek assistance from the PNP.
Mas konti na nga po kami. If we deploy on the ground and then we are doing the actual anti-drug operation, and then hostile forces start firing on us, and we get pinned down, who will help us?
We're ready to provide support to the PIDEA, whether it's coming from the national down to the municipal level. When they need our support, we are working for the same government. So we will not deny them any of the assistance that we can provide them.
With over 76,000 anti-drug operations, the police produced 90% of the results of the drug war from July 2016 to September 2017. But the relentless campaign has a price. Over 3,000 drug suspects dead in police operations, while PIDEA agents killed only 28 suspects. Camille Abadisho, CNN Philippines.
PNP Chief Ronald De La Rosa says he accepts President Duterte's decision to take the anti-drug campaign off their hands. Speaking to CNN Philippines, De La Rosa adds he can't help but feel sad over the decision, but he considers this development a positive step.
Policemen ko man o yung mga drug personalities, still buhay pa rin ng tao yun. So, kuan ba, yung, anyway, I just look at it positively, yung executive order na yun. Sabi siguro ni Presidente, masyado ka ng pagod anak, pahinga ka na. Ito, hindi natin magpaplastikan.
Sir.
Frustrated si Presidente sa naging reaksyon ng taong bayan. It goes to show na si Presidente hindi diktador. Na nakiramdam siya sa pulso ng taong bayan. Kung totoo man yun, granting na talagang totoong sentimento ng general public yung lumabas sa survey, sabi ni Presidente din, I am working for the Filipino people. So, ano yung gusto ng taong bayan? Dissatisfied sila sa war on drugs, hinto natin itong war on drugs.
Catch the full interview with the PNP chief tonight on The Source at 11. More local news later in the show. Here are some top stories from around the world. Wildfires that continue to burn in Northern California leave affected counties in scorched ruins. As officials search for hundreds of residents still missing, they're finding bodies burnt beyond recognition. So far, 31 people have been killed, making this one of the deadliest wildfire outbreaks in the history of the U.S. state. Since Sunday, the deadly fires have leveled communities, forced evacuations, and produced unhealthy air quality in the affected areas. Police on both sides of the Atlantic are investigating Harvey Weinstein over allegations of sexual assault. This as a scandal surrounding the disgraced Hollywood movie mogul mounts. In London, the Metropolitan Police are investigating an allegation of sexual assault against Weinstein, while in New York, police are reviewing claims made by victims interviewed in a bombshell New Yorker article. More Hollywood stars are accusing Weinstein of inappropriate behavior. Actress Rose McGowan and model actress Cara Delevingne add their voices to the allegations. And Pope Francis has 40 million Twitter followers as of this week. The Pope joined Twitter nearly 5 years ago. His Twitter handle @Pontifex can be accessed in 9 languages. According to a press release from the Vatican, Pope Francis uses his daily tweets to offer spiritual thoughts throughout the globe. Later in the program, we'll give you the latest on severe tropical storm Odette, which is bringing rains to some parts of the country. Also ahead, embattled Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno speaks up, and she doesn't seem bothered by the impeachment proceedings against her. More details after the break. Stay with CNN Philippines. Good evening to all of you joining us here on Facebook Live. Coming up for you in the next segment of the newsroom, we have an update on the weather. Tropical storm Odette is bringing rains to many parts of the country, so we'll give you an update on that. Also, the latest on ratings on President Duterte, satisfaction, what people are thinking about how he is leading the country. It seems people are still very satisfied with how he's doing. Also, ratings on other leaders. So stay tuned for that and many more stories coming your way, including a story from inside Marawi with George Cahiles. So stay tuned for many more stories again coming your way later. And remember, for more stories, you can check out cnnphilippines.com. For now, we want to greet some of you. Thanks again for always joining us here and sending in your greetings. We want to say hello to Mahmoud Saka, who is watching from Dubai. Merstulin is watching from Hong Kong. Jojo Noble watching us from Washington, D.C. Rod Dizon joining us from South Korea. Joyce Tiongson Alfonso, who's watching from Melbourne, Australia. Joel Maribay from Brunei. Ides Plazo from Finland. And Veronica De Cesero watching us from Brazil. Also, Genevieve Balosa is watching from Hong Kong. Anesito Son is watching from Ormoc City. Rurki Perez watching from San Diego in California. Madi Palalay from Hong Kong. Dante Sudiakal watching from Canada. Ed Baswell also watching from Down Under. Hello to you there in Australia. Stay with us for more greetings later and more stories. CNN Philippines. Odette has intensified into a severe tropical storm and is now heading towards the West Philippine Sea. The cyclone was carrying heavy rains and gusty winds when it made landfall in Santa Ana, Cagayan past midnight. As of 4 this afternoon, Odette was spotted west of Sinait, Ilocos Sur. Signal number 1 is still up over the province, as well as Ilocos Norte, La Union, Pangasinan, Batanes, and the Babuyan group of islands. The severe tropical storm is also bringing moderate to occasionally heavy rains in the provinces of Zambales and Bataan. Odette is expected to exit the country between tonight and tomorrow morning. But its extended clouds are affecting Metro Manila, the rest of Luzon, the Visayas, and the Zamboanga Peninsula, bringing light to moderate rains with thunderstorms. The rest of Mindanao will see localized thunderstorms. It's rush hour, payday Friday, back-to-back mall sales, and the weather is not looking good outside. So you can imagine what that means for the situation on the roads this evening. Let's check in with Ivy Saunar. She joins us on the phone from EDSA Julia Vargas in Pasig City. Hi, Ivy. How are things looking there now?
Yes, Mitzi, it's payday Friday for some, and it's raining outside, so as expected, traffic is still heavy along the major thoroughfares here in Manila. There are ongoing sales in 2 huge shopping malls along EDSA Ortigas. That's why we're seeing heavier than usual volume of vehicles headed toward those areas. Due to heavy rains, there's gutter deep floods in some parts of Ortigas, particularly along Mega Mall. The Metro Manila Development Authority has advised motorists to take alternate routes to avoid heavy traffic. Based on MMDA's Traffic Navigator, traffic is heavier along the northbound lane of EDSA, beginning at Magallanes, all the way to Ortigas. For the south, traffic is moving. Expect moderate traffic down that stretch. It's going to be an easy drive for those headed to Commonwealth, Green and Go from Elliptical Road to Batasan, and moderate to heavy traffic conditions from Araneta Avenue all the way to España. So just a reminder to motorists, take it easy on the road and drive safely. Mitzi?
Definitely keep safe out there. Now, Ivy, any flooded areas that motorists should avoid? All right, we lost Ivy Sanar there. She just said that the roads are not looking good right now. It's payday Friday and the weather is not good and there are sales in several malls. Again, that was Ivy Sanar reporting about the situation out on the roads in EDSA Julia Vargas in Pasig. A new Pulse Asia survey shows President Duterte is still enjoying high approval and trust ratings. As the administration faces a number of issues, data show 80% or 8 out of 10 respondents say they approve of the Duterte presidency. Only 7% say otherwise, while 13% are undecided. The president also managed to retain his majority trust rating, also at 80%. Pulse Asia says the numbers remain virtually constant since June. This latest survey was conducted from September 24 to 30 among 1,200 respondents nationwide. Malacanang is pleased with the news of President Duterte's high approval and trust ratings. Presidential spokesman Ernie Abella says the results prove that the public is not easily swayed by political noise. Abella points out the survey was even conducted at a time when what he says was a demolition job against the president and his family was in place.
There seemed to be timed, or whoever it's coming from, there seems to be some form of orchestrated information, disinformation, that is in operation.
Abella says he'd rather not speculate on who may be behind the demolition job, but he says it's clear that they are out to discredit the president. Lawmakers are also weighing in on the ratings.
I have no doubt that the president can bounce back. I think maging klaro pa yung ninanais niya sa ating pamahalaan.
Senate President Coco Pimentel says the results are accurate, while Senator Sonny Angara says public sentiment changes from time to time, as with other presidents. Senator Ping Lacson, meanwhile, pointed out the difference in the results of this Pulse Asia survey and another poll released early this week. A social weather station survey on Monday showed fewer Filipinos are satisfied with the president's performance. That survey was conducted from September 23 to 27. Now, how do Filipinos rate the performance of other top government officials? Here are the results from the latest social weather station survey. Data show Vice President Leni Robredo's net satisfaction rating stayed good at plus 41. That's up by 5 points since June this year. Senate President Coco Pimentel's rating also stayed good at a personal record high of plus 46 in September. This surpassed his previous record of plus 37 in the same period last year. Robredo welcomes the results of the survey. She says this could mean people are beginning to see the positive things they have done through different programs. Among those, her anti-poverty advocacy program called Angat Buhay.
Happy with the rise. Gustong sabihin, nararamdaman ng tao yung ating ginagawa. Gustong sabihin, parang accepted ng tao yung kabutihan na ginagawa natin despite the very limited resources. Malaking bagay din na nararamdaman na kasi lalong nagbibigay ito sa amin ng lakas at inspirasyon na lalong pagbutihin, lalong palawakin yung aming ginagawa.
For House Speaker Bebot Alvarez, his rating fell from moderate to neutral at a personal record low of plus 8. Same thing for Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno, whose rating also fell to neutral at plus 9. This is her lowest net satisfaction rating score since December 2015. Supreme Court Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno is asking trial court judges to brush off political noise. Addressing the Philippine Trial Judges League in Palo, Leyte on Wednesday, Sereno said court judges should stay focused on their work and not be sidetracked by political noise meant to unseat her as the country's top magistrate. Sereno said members of the judiciary must stay true to their oaths and stay out of politics. In front of whom she called frontliners of our courts, Sereno also reiterated that the impeachment proceedings did not bother her because she knew the truth was on her side.
To tell you the truth, I do not feel as embattled as the news stories may portray me to be. As one of my younger staff remarked, ang chill ni CJ, bagay ang pangalan, sereno as in serene, kalmado. Alam kong hindi ako nagsinungaling, hindi ako nandaya, hindi ako nanlamang ng kapwa, at ginawa ko ng tama ang trabaho ko bilang punong maestrado.
It was Sereno's first public appearance since the House Committee on Justice declared on October 4 that there are sufficient grounds to proceed with the impeachment proceedings. Next on the lawmakers' table is finding out whether it has probable cause. President Duterte himself is pushing for Sereno's impeachment. He's accusing the Chief Justice of failing to declare her true wealth in her statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth, among others. Intense firefights were observed in Marawi City Friday morning as troops continue to flush out the remnants of the ISIS-inspired Maute group in the city. The local government asks authorities to do its best to ensure that no more Maute fighters will be left in the city as they wind up their operations. Our George Cahiles has that story.
Kilometers away from the main battle area, continuous gunfire and bomb explosion filled the air Friday morning, indicating an intense firefight between government troops and ISIS-inspired Maute group. Authorities say the battle is confined within a 3-hectare area near the lake.
And as they are now confined to a smaller space, we anticipated more intense fighting. Kasi nga po, mas concentrated na yung mga Maute in certain places so they can give us a strong resistance.
The military earlier said it is confident it will meet its October 15 deadline to end the war. But now, the armed forces clarifies they do not have any deadline, just a self-imposed target to finish the fight.
We don't want to call it a deadline. No? Hindi po natin siniset na deadline yon because it brings undue pressure on the troops. So, meron po tayong targets. No? Targets na pilit inaabot.
Once the war is over, a second wave of clearing operations will be carried out. Authorities will once again scour buildings, tunnels, and other underground structures. This is an example of a drainage system inside the main battle area. The military says these could be used as passageways for stragglers who may escape or create more terror after the war.
Our position is i-clear ang NBA not only of the ordinances but combatants, fighters from the Maote side, leaders and their foot soldiers.
The military says the ongoing war has taught them so many lessons, things that they need to improve on next time, especially in urban warfare, their shortfall in this ongoing siege. From Marawi City, George Cahiles, CNN Philippines.
Communications Secretary Martin Andanar visits Marawi in the wake of rising expectations that the crisis is about to end. Andanar says the administration is preparing for the eventual liberation of Marawi. The military says the fighting that has stretched to nearly 5 months may end soon. Andanar is setting up government's messaging mechanism once the war ends. He will highlight the Maranao's resiliency. He visited an evacuation center in Iligan before going to Marawi, where he met with military and local officials.
We are very hopeful, based on the report of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, na ito ay malapit na matapos. So we are readying ourselves in the eventuality na mangyari ito para mabilis yung aming pag-aksyon.
Andanar's office is also setting up the local operation of Salam TV and Radio, a state-run media hub which aims to give a voice to Filipino Muslims. A former head of state has issued a warning to the ASEAN about China's offers of friendship and funding. Former Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad says China has become an economic giant in the region. He fears it will try to buy smaller countries. Mohamad uses the example of Africa, where China has poured in billions of dollars in loans for their infrastructure projects. Now China has put up various military bases across Africa. Mohamad urges the ASEAN to be wary of these economic links, since it seems to be China's new way of conquering territories without having to wage a war.
Now we have a rich China investing in many countries, lending huge sums of money, and in the end, the borrowers find themselves unable to resist the Chinese practically invasion.
Actress Nadine Lustre opens up about her struggle with depression. And horror film Spirit of the Glass gets a sequel. We give you a sneak peek when we return. Newsroom will be right back. Good evening to all of you joining us here on Facebook Live. We have been getting a lot of comments here on President Duterte's turnover of the government's anti-drug campaign to the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency from the police. Benson Santa Ana says, I'm really quite curious on what will the PDEA do on leading the war on drugs. Reb Kiamco, meanwhile, says, isama na lang ang police, CIDG sa PDEA. Mas gamay nila surveillance operation at expert na sila sa paglatag ng police operasyon. Byron Yon Messina says, thumbs up to Pinky Webb on the source. He did a great interview on General De La Rosa. Flor Dagandan says, we support our men in uniform. God bless you, Sir Ronald. Thank you for all your comments and also for your greetings here on Facebook Live. We'll read some of them. Veronica Amodia de Cicero is watching from Brazil. Benson Santa Ana is watching from Mandaluyong. Elsej Besares is watching from Vienna, Austria. Gina Cardenas is watching from Malaysia. Aniceto Son from Ormoc, Leyte. Also, we have, I think I read that earlier, Rurki Perez from California. Marcelo de Guzman is watching from Israel. Emmeline Famukol from Beirut, Lebanon. Also, we have Teng Katong watching from UP Los Baños in Laguna. Also, Helen Teramoto is watching from Tokyo and Aldwin Aures from New York. Thanks for all your greetings and for joining us here on Facebook Live. Stay with us until the end of the show. Welcome back. Actress Nadine Lustre opens up about her struggle with depression. This comes days after the death of her 16-year-old brother, which the police confirmed as suicide. On Instagram, the actress wrote, quote, "I have days when I have to put a mask on, smiling, numbing myself from negative emotions. Too often, I have already mastered the art of hiding it," unquote. Lustre encouraged readers to open up to their loved ones if they hit rock bottom, saying they are the ones who will understand and care. 2004 Filipino horror film Spirit of the Glass is getting a sequel. Much like the first installment, award-winning director Jose Javier Reyes says the movie follows the story of a group of friends who open the gates of the supernatural world after playing an inherited Ouija board. In a press conference held yesterday, the cast also shared their own experiences when it comes to dealing with the supernatural.
This is more of mixing souls with technology because iba yung quality ng haunting dito. Okay? It's new because we contemporize, okay, the use of new media and how that can also be yung cause ng mga pagmumulto. Okay? And it's very contemporary. Very, very contemporary yung kwento.
Pero now na matanda na ako, mature na ako, alam ko na yung tama or mali, syempre, I wouldn't dare na maglaro ulit. Kasi ayokong makipaglaro sa devil. Dahil alam naman natin na mahirap kalaban yun.
The Haunted Spirit of the Glass 2 is top-billed by actress Christine Reyes, Daniel Matsunaga, Dominic Roque, and Janine Gutierrez. Award-winning actress Therese Malvar is also part of the cast, and first-timers Miss Universe 2016 Maxine Medina and Kwentong Jollibee commercial model Enrico Cuenca are also taking part in the sequel.
I think both Kasi parang you're playing a character in pageant and then you're playing a character din sa movie. So, well, sa pageant, buong mundo and you're representing your country. Pero etong movie, you're portraying a character, different character. Sobrang hirap din.
Being in this movie, I learned a lot about, how to be professional. And I'd like to credit everyone in this movie for that.
The Haunted Spirit of the Glass 2 opens in theaters on November 1st. Actor-singer Marlo Mortel is holding a concert for someone close to his heart. Marlo is gearing up for his first ever major show, which he dedicates to his mother, who is battling cancer. Marlo's mom was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2014. The actor thanks his friends in the industry for all the support. Speaking to CNN Philippines, Marlo says fans can expect a night of heartwarming music and entertainment.
Siguro kung talagang concert for myself lang ito, siguro na-excite ako Pero this is for a cause. And madaming nag-rely, like family namin of course are relying on this din. Hindi din siya ganun kadali din.
Marlo also shares his mother's favorite song, a Celine Dion classic, which will be the highlight of his benefit concert. Marlo Mortel's Songs for Mama concert happens tonight at the Element Centris in Quezon City. And that's a newsroom for you this evening.